Some stories are so strange, so unsettling, that they refuse to fade into history. This is one of them. In the 1960s, deep in the Soviet Union, during the height of the Cold War, a strange tale began to spread among railway workers, soldiers, and villagers who lived near the endless train lines of Russia. It was the story of a train that should not exist, a train filled with silent soldiers appearing out of the mist at night, traveling tracks that no longer operated, and then vanishing into thin air. At first, it was whispered as a ghost story to scare young conscripts, but soon the reports became too consistent, too detailed, and too numerous to ignore. This is the story of the soldier's ghost train. The 1960s were a tense decade for the Soviet Union. The country was locked in the Cold War, building missiles, testing nuclear weapons, and training armies of young men who were often shipped off in secret to unknown locations. Railroads were the veins of the Soviet system, moving coal, oil, tanks, and people across the vast frozen land. But the further you traveled into rural Russia, the stranger the stories became. Railway workers spoke of phantom lights that glowed across abandoned tracks. Villagers near forgotten tunnels whispered about hearing the screech of metal wheels at night, though no scheduled trains passed through. And soldiers, tough, battle-hardened men, claimed they saw an entire troop train appear out of the fog, only to vanish before their eyes. The first written account came in 1963 from a small railway station near Bryansk. A group of track workers repairing an old line at night saw a massive locomotive rushing toward them. It was painted black, its windows glowing with a pale green light. Terrified, the men jumped off the track, expecting to feel the rush of air as the train sped past. But there was nothing. No sound. No vibration. Only a faint cold wind, followed by silence. The workers later swore that inside the glowing windows they saw rows of soldiers in uniform, motionless, staring forward, their faces pale as chalk. Some even claimed the men looked dead. Word of the soldiers' train spread quickly. Soldiers stationed in rural garrisons told the same story. The train appeared without warning, often near abandoned tunnels or old wartime tracks. Its lights glowed faintly in the mist, its carriages filled with silent soldiers. Some believed it was the ghost of a real wartime train, perhaps one that disappeared during World War II while transporting troops. Others claimed it was a Soviet secret experiment, a train somehow stuck in a time loop, endlessly replaying its final journey. The Ministry of Railways officially dismissed the rumors as alcohol-fueled imagination, but reports kept piling up. One of the most chilling encounters occurred in 1966 near an abandoned tunnel in the Smolensk region. Locals avoided the tunnel, saying strange noises echoed from within. That winter, two young lovers walking home from a dance saw bright lights inside the tunnel. Believing it to be a working train, they stepped aside. But as the locomotive rolled out, they realized it wasn't real. The entire train was translucent, like a reflection in water. Inside, dozens of soldiers sat perfectly still, their faces ghostly white. The girl screamed, and the train instantly faded into mist. She later refused to speak of the event ever again. Witnesses often describe the soldiers as wearing old uniforms, not of the 1960s wartime era, but the 1940s wartime era. Their faces looked lifeless, some even skeletal, as if they had been dead for decades. Yet there were also reports of movement. In rare cases, the soldiers turned their heads to look directly at the living. Railway guards claimed that when this happened, they felt paralyzed with fear, unable to move until the train vanished. One soldier, now elderly, later confessed in an interview. "I saw them once, near Kursk. They looked like my comrades, men who died in the war, but they were on that train, staring at me. I will never forget those faces." Over time, several explanations emerged. A wartime disaster. Some historians believed a troop train had derailed during World War II and was covered up by Soviet authorities. The ghosts were the soldiers who perished, doomed to ride the rails forever. A time loop. Others speculated the train was caught in some unexplained time slip, endlessly replaying its journey across decades. Psychological stress. Skeptics argued the sightings were the result of stress, exhaustion, and fear during the Cold War, hallucinations born from overworked soldiers and villagers. But none of these theories explained why the descriptions were always the same, even from people who had never met each other. The strangest twist came in 1968. A small military train carrying young recruits reportedly vanished between two stations. According to records, the train left Orel at 11:40 p.m., but never arrived at its next stop. Officially, the accident was blamed on miscommunication, but railway logs show no wreckage, no derailment, no trace. To this day, the train's fate remains a mystery. Some believe it became part of the Phantom Convoy, the very same soldier's ghost train that still appears on misty nights. Even after the collapse of the Soviet Union, reports of the ghost train continued. Hunters, hikers, and even railway photographers claim to have seen glowing lights in abandoned tunnels and heard the distant whistle of a train that no longer exists. In the 1990s, a group of explorers camping near an old line swore they saw a glowing train pass by at 2 a.m. Their photographs showed nothing but fog, yet every one of them described the same sight. Soldiers sitting silently in carriages, staring straight ahead. The soldier's ghost train remains one of Russia's eeriest mysteries. Whether it is the spirit of lost soldiers, a train trapped in time, or simply mass hallucination, the story refuses to disappear. And maybe, the next time you stand by the tracks at night in the Russian countryside, listening to the silence, you might just hear it. The faint whistle of a train that should not exist. The soldier's ghost train.